I'm so thrilled to have this evening with Fred, and we've got such a great bunch of songs. And as you know, if you've read the invitations, June, I'm very seasonally. I like to pick a month and think about what's going on in this month, and then find songs relating to that. So June, yeah, we got Father's Day, we've got Pride, we've got graduations. I was going to do a graduation song, but man, we don't have time for it. But you won't miss it. And yeah, we're just going to kind of go back and forth and talk, sing and talk and have a good time together. Um, let's see if anybody's new. Just we ask you not to use the chat during the song. And it's nice so that you can really concentrate and the artist can concentrate. That's wonderful. Liz will, to the best of her ability, be putting links into the chat for various things that are going to come up during the evening, but if you don't get them, we'll send everything to you by email anyway, so no worries, no worries. Okay, so we know that Fred is the author of an iconic, historic song that everybody loves very well called Everything Possible. And so I thought I would start the evening with a song of mine. And Fred and I were writing this kind of stuff about the same era. We were both in Cambridge. It was probably like the 80s, right? Late 70s and 80s. And there was so much going on with women's movement exploding, men's consciousness rising, a lot of was going on. And so we were writing songs about gender choices and liberation and women's and men getting out of stereotypes. And it was a wonderful, wonderful time.
You and I did a whole series of concerts called Building Bridges,
Oh, that's right.
where you would sing songs of changing women, I would sing songs of changing men, and then there'd be a workshop the next
Oh
day,
my God.
led by Anamika Neitlich and Charlie Kreiner, about engaging across gender.
Oh my God. Collective memory is a wonderful thing. Okay, and I'll tell you some stuff we did that you're not going to remember. So
I'm sure you will.
I'm sure I'll try. I'll do my best. Anyway, so this is a song I wrote when I was working with children in the schools and doing programs and songwriting and singing. And it was my kind of version of, in a way, everything possible. It's called "I'm So Glad to Be Who I Am." And the chorus is exactly that. I'm so glad to be who I am. It goes like this. I'm so glad to be who I am, glad to be who I am. Sing along. I'm so glad to be who I am, glad to be who I am. I'll come around a lot. Well, I rode my bike down Dead Man's Hill. If the wind don't catch me, well, no one will. It don't much matter if I'm Jack or Jill. I'm glad to be who I am. Let's sing it. I'm so glad to be who I am, glad to be who I am. I'm so glad to be who I am, glad to be who I am. Janie hits the ball over the trees. She's on my team, I sure am pleased. She's my best friend and I might get teased, but I'm glad to be who I am. Here we go. I'm so glad to be who I am, glad to be who I am. Everybody, I'm so glad to be who I am, glad to be who I am. Well, I like to sing, I like to dance. I could be an actor if they give me a chance. And I don't look funny in my leotard pants. Glad to be who I am. I'm so glad to be who I am, glad to be who I am. Sure am. I'm so glad to be who I am, glad to be who I am. Well, I'm a little smooth, I'm a little rough, I'm a little tender, I'm a little tough. I'm a special person, a lot of love. I'm glad to be who I am. Let's sing it out. I'm so glad to be who I am, glad to be who I am. I'm so glad to be who I am, glad to be who I am. One more. I'm so glad to be who I am. I'm glad to be who I am. Yeah. Mm. I had a chance to sing with kids the other day because I have a fifth grade graduation song that a certain school in my area sings every year. I wrote it for my son's fifth grade graduation, what, how, 10, 20 years ago, 20 years ago at least. And now this school's been singing it every year. And I'll tell you, just being in the presence of people under 25 is just such a pleasure. So I'm glad we all sang that together. I got a little boost of that youth energy. And now I want to introduce my dear friend and colleague, old friend, Fred Small, who I know many of you know and love his music. Fred made a tremendous impact on the progressive music field back in the day, and the impact continues because we're still singing Everything Possible and other songs. And Fred, we're so glad you're here. Welcome, and we'll talk more about why you're here tonight in particular later, but you have a song to help us open the evening.
Thank you so much, Betsy. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul. This song began as an Appalachian hymn that some of you may know. Beautiful, beautiful, gentle melody. Bright morning stars arising. And in this version, it's just one star, Bright Morning Star. Court Dorsey adapted it, turned it into a kind of movement anthem that folks sang at the Seabrook nuclear power protests back in the 70s and 80s. And it's a great song to get people energized and build community. So I invite you to sing along on mute, of course. Bright Morning Star, give it a try. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul. There's some wonderful harmonies to be found in this, and I encourage you to explore them. My only sadness is that we can't hear them all together all at once because it's quite a joyful noise. But we'll imagine the different parts, and you can go nuts in the privacy and safety of your home. Nothing to be embarrassed about. So swing for the bleachers. Let's sing Bright Morning Star again, then I'll sing you some verses that I made up because, hey, it's the folk tradition. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul for justice and compassion. For justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, for justice and compassion, days a breaking in my soul, for peace in every nation. For peace in every nation, for peace in every nation, for peace in every nation, days a breaking in my soul. For the healing of creation, 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 days a breaking in my soul. For the future of our children, 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 days a breaking in my soul. Last time, bright morning star. Bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, bright morning star arising, days a breaking in my soul.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful, Fred. What a great old song. And it takes me back to our days back there because, of course, the group Bright Morning Star. Who among you remembers Bright's Morning Star? Has ever heard that group? Charlie King, Marcia Taylor, and the other folks, George Fuljaniti Shakar. And I remember them singing up at Seabrook
Ken
Nuclear.
Giles, yep.
Yeah, and Ken Giles, and yeah, they had some great anti-nuke songs back in the day, and yeah, just other dear friends of ours. And in a minute, I'm going to do a song relating to that. But I'd like us to, at this point, as we always do, just take a moment to quiet ourselves. We started high energy, which is great, but to just take a moment and kind of just, I like to think of it as just arriving like out of the foyer and into the living room and really settle in. And if you like, you could, we often bring candles. If people have candles they'd like to show, that would be great. And I want to get into the gallery because I really like looking at everybody. Thank you, Anita. Beautiful. And I see, oh, look at Liz has got a candle and Kiana. Thank you so much. I didn't even light mine tonight. We had a little tech stuff going on, so I didn't get my sacred part as together as I'd like. Thank you for those beautiful candles. And we can just rest. You can rest your candle where you're looking at it or whatever you like. And if you feel comfortable, just close your eyes for a moment. And take a nice, deep, easy breath and just let your body settle a bit. Notice how your body's doing. Where is it right now? What's touching it? The floor, maybe your cushions or sofa, chair. Just kind of get in touch with your physical senses for a minute. And a couple of more nice, deep breaths. Just let the day go. Sometimes we open our evening with a song, Lay It Down. And it just several times in different ways it says, lay it down, lay down your burden, let it go. There are many things in the world that we could focus on that would trouble our hearts and minds, and they should, but at this moment, we're here for our medicine, the medicine of community, the medicine of song. And not just any song, but song with a purpose, song with an intention to lift the heart, open the heart, sometimes heal the heart, and awaken our sense of possibility and hope and engagement. That's what I'm here for. I bet a lot of you are too. So I want to invite you to just, maybe just if you care to put one hand on your heart, just let the other hand, or both hands, or let the other hand rest, and just breathe for a moment into your heart. Joanna Macy talks about our hearts as a place where we compost the suffering of the world and the horrors that we witness or that others live. And rather than blocking our heart because we just don't think we can bear it, actually opening to it with a sense of receiving, surrounding it with compassion, with tenderness, with forgiveness. And in that way, somehow it composts into a stronger heart, and a heart more able to make change in a way that's connected and loving. So thank you for joining me in that for a moment. I usually do a soft or a song or a chant after the meditation, but I'm actually going into another pretty high energy song, just kind of how it's rolling tonight. This is a song that Fred and I both have a song called 350. So he's going to hear mine for the first time, and I hope I get to hear his sometime. 350, as you know, is the Bill McKibben originated national organization focusing on climate health, climate loss of health, and climate change, and changing climate change. 350 is was said to be by scientists about the number of particulates in some measurement that I'm not remembering of carbon that we can tolerate safely without the planet beginning to deteriorate. And James Hansen, the scientist, kind of came up with that. So now we're well above 400, I believe, and which is not good news. But we're still here, we're still breathing, and we're still fighting. So this song, I want you to sing along. Liz is going to put it in the chat, or has put it in the chat. It's to the tune of This Old Man, which I hope you all know. And, excuse me, just put myself on speaker here. So let's do it. Okay, here we go. Let me just cough one more time. The ritual cough. Here's our starting note. 1, 2, ready, go. 3, 5, 0. Now we know that's the highest we can go if we want and sorry, choking. If we want an earth where living things can grow, let's get back to 350. You got it? Okay. 350 or below when you're counting carbon. Less is more. We can kick the car habit. Just say no. Let's get back to 350. 350, let's all show how we make our garden grow. With compost seeds, a rake, and a hoe, we can thrive at 350. 350, take it slow, walk or bike or sail or row. One step, one breath, hold hands, go slow. And now we speed it up. All together, 350. Woo! Thank you.
Hooray.
Yeah, I haven't sung that in a long time. Well, Fred, now we get to get the full Fred experience with the song and what you're going to tell us about why you're coming to the Bay Area next week.
Thank you so much. I just put in the chat the link to my 350. Please do not click on it now because we got live music happening. But at your convenience, you can check it out. I just think it's wonderful because I wasn't aware of Betsy's 350, and I don't think you were aware of mine. But we both, we both went the exact same route to solve the threshold problem of the song because the organization calls itself 350. And so Bill McKibben put out the call to artists and musicians, yeah, do something with 350. And I'm going, 350? That just kind of sits there inert. What do I do as a songwriter with 350? It's just a number. And then I heard people chanting in the street, and I was chanting in the street at these rallies, 350. And I thought, oh, well, that's it. It's 350. It's not 350, not for a song. So I took it, of course, in a very different direction because Betsy and I are very different songwriters. But I enjoy it at your leisure, but not tonight. So yeah, Everything Possible is a song that I wrote 40 years ago this year, wrote it in 1983. I don't know how many of you know the wonderful women's band, women's quartet, Mother Lode in the Pacific Northwest. I see some people do. And Janet Peterson is the cellist with that band, and I was visiting her when I was on tour in Seattle. And at that time, her son Aaron was 9 years old, and he was struggling in school because, age 9, when you're a boy, I can't speak for, girls' gendered experience, but I remember being a boy, and it's rough because you get the message very hard and sometimes violently, that you've got to be a particular way. You can't be a sissy, you can't be artistic. You can't be very nice. I mean, if you want to wonder why guys are such a piece of work, we're taught to be pieces of work. So he was struggling because he just wanted to be himself, just as Betsy's beautiful song, Glad to Be Who I Am. Same message. He just wanted to be himself. So Janet said, Fred, you're a songwriter. Can you write me a song that I can sing to him to let him know that he has all kinds of choices as to who he wants to be? And she may have asked every songwriter who passed through Seattle, but I was the one who took her up on it. I was on the bus the next day to Evergreen State College for my next gig, and I had a couple hours, and I wrote Everything Possible. And then I sang it a couple of years on the folk circuit, and then the Flirtations picked it up. And if you remember the Flirtations, amazing 5-man gay a cappella group that was just the toast of the gay and lesbian community in those days. And once they started singing it, it caught on with gay and lesbian choruses, and people started singing it all over the world. So, and that was such an honor for me as a songwriter, but especially as a straight cis guy, writing a song that is then embraced by a community not my own. Just a tremendous honor. So, everything possible, and feel free to sing along on the chorus. I have to actually take the chat out of my screen. There we go, much better. We have cleared off the table, the leftovers saved. Wash the dishes and put them away. I have told you a story and tucked you in tight at the end of your knockabout day. As the moon sets its sails to carry you to sleep over the midnight sea, I will sing you a song no one sang to me. May it keep you good company. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. Some children grow up strong and bold, while some are quiet and kind. Some race on ahead, some take it slow, some go in their own way and time. Some women love women, some men love men, some leave every label behind. You can dream all the day, never reaching the end of everything possible you'll find. Don't be rattled by names, by taunts, by games, but seek out spirits true. If you give your friends the best part of yourself, they will give the same back to you. You can be anybody you want to be. You can love whoever you will. You can travel any country. You can travel any country where your heart leads, and know I will love you still. You can live by yourself. You can gather friends around. You can choose one special one. And the only measure of your words and your deeds will be the love you leave behind when you're done. The love you leave behind when you're done.
I'm going to be the applause track for the entire audience tonight. Wow, that song never gets old. And I'm sure everyone who knows the song noticed the changes you made. And that's a challenge for topical songwriters, is that times change, and things that were very relevant and cutting edge 10 years or 20 or 30 years ago have to get looked at again, because things have changed. And that's good. It's great that you had to change those words, because all the changes are good.
We have a much more inclusive understanding of gender than we did 40 years ago. So I couldn't keep singing a song that had an unsubverted gender binary twice in it, or four times, depending upon how you're counting. But I was thinking about your song that you started with, "I'm So Glad to Be Who I Am." The difference in the song, and it's obviously very clear in the energy, that yours is a song to be sung by kids. And there's great energy in that, kid energy. Oh, I'm so glad to be. And this is a lullaby. to be sung to a child.
Right.
So we're trying to, you know, um, like those words you were using before about letting go and centering down and just, okay, folks, let's lower the energy level, but also to send them off with this wonderful positive message of possibility as the moon sets its sails to carry you to sleep. Here's a song to take you toward your dreams.
Well, it's beautifully written, Fred. It's such a beautiful song. And now it's been made, I understand, into a book. And I have the cover and everything up on the screen. So whenever you want me to, I can screen share if you want to.
Anytime. It's
Okay.
the cover of the book is far more beautiful than I am. So
Ah,
anytime you want it on screen.
so
Yeah, Alison Brown. Now, if you might recognize that name because there's a banjo player in the U.S., very fine banjo player named Alison Brown. This is not she. This is a different Alison Brown in the UK. She was born and raised in Ireland and uh, is now living in Leeds, England. And that's looks like just a portion of.
have I got
There
it?
we
Yeah,
go.
I had to fuss around with it. I'm sorry. But
Sure, no, that's great.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's the cover, and she did such a beautiful job. When you write a song and you sing it for decades, you feel a little possessive, and I just think she added so much to this song, and she's gonna, this book is gonna take it to whole new audiences,
oh,
and I couldn't be more excited about it and more grateful for Allison's work.
wonderful. Well, it's going to be the new Goodnight Moon, is what I think.
That would be nice.
Wouldn't that be
That
nice?
would.
You can make a little cardboard book out of it. You know.
Sure,
Oh, Fred,
sure.
it's congratulations. What a
Thank you.
great recognition of the song and you and what the song can do. And as you say, being in a children's book out as a publisher, it's gonna just make such a difference. And you're doing a couple of book events in the Bay Area.
Yes, yes. Thanks for reminding us. Yeah, so I live in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I am now, but I'm coming out to the Bay Area next week, and I'm going to be doing three events. And I think the link to my link tree was already put in the chat. And if you go to that link tree, you'll see three events. You'll see some other events like on the East Coast as well, but look for these. On the 18th of this month, I will be singing the song at the Sunday worship service of First Unitarian Church of Oakland, where my mother was a member actually a few years back until she died in 2016. And Reverend Jacqueline Duart will be preaching. I think the church website doesn't yet have the description up for that morning worship. It's just boilerplate right now about any worship service. But Jacqueline Duart will be preaching, and I will be singing Everything Possible, and I'm sure lots of other wonderful things will be happening also. Um,
Sorry, Fred, do you know when that service starts? Because
oh,
there's
I knew you were going to say that. I can
oh,
very easily navigate to my
I'll
calendar,
tell you
which
what.
I will
I don't.
do because again, I don't have to see myself. Okay, so yes, that on the 18th, that service starts. Um, oh, good grief! It's not on my calendar. I think
You
it.
know what?
I You know what I think? I think it's at some. I don't want to say strange,
I think it's like
but
10:40.
unusual hour, like 10:20,
10:40. It's 10:40. I looked at it.
10:40. Okay,
10:40. But you know what, Fred, when you're singing, I will look it up and put it in the chat.
thank you.
So we'll stick with it.
Okay, so that's on the 18th. Then on Wednesday night, the 21st, I'm going to be at the Academy, which is a wonderful gay club in San Francisco. It's new to me, but I'm told it's amazing. And I'm going to be part of the Academy Forum, which is a discussion educational series they have. There's going to be a panel discussion on the history of LGBTQ activism in San Francisco, and then I'm going to sing Everything Possible to I guess close out the evening. So that's I feel so privileged about that. And then on Saturday the 24th, and this I know is at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The Academy Forum is a 6:30 start your time, and then on Saturday the 24th, 3 o'clock at Book Passage, the wonderful bookstore, and this is in their San Francisco store. They also have another store, but this is in their San Francisco store at 3 o'clock. And I'll sing the song. I will sign books to you personally, or as is frequently the case, to your grandchildren, great nieces, great nephews, etc., etc. And it'll be great to see any of you in person, and please let your friends know.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of Bay Area people here, so it's great to know we have these opportunities. See you and the book. Anyway, just congratulations again. It's really good to see progressive, high quality messaging get out into the mainstream. It's really very gratifying, very hopeful. So thank you, Fred. And I guess I'll do a song.
Hooray.
Okay. And I'm going to switch over to the Father's Day theme. I could tell stories about my dad all night, and most of them you'd have a really good time listening, but I'm not going to do that. But I thought I don't actually have a song directly about him, except he's a figure in several of my songs. But I was thinking about some of the songs, a song I've just written that really has his impact in it in a couple of ways. My dad was a minister, as a lot of you know, and he was a progressive, liberal, sometimes radical guy in the 50s, which was not a great time to be progressive, liberal and radical. So he found himself in both urban kind of middle class churches and where he was supposed to be a little bit white collary and sit in his office and receive parishioners, and he liked to go sit in the Greyhound bus station and talk to the wayfarers and the down and outers and the alcoholics. And he eventually stopped the ministry after many churches. He just wore out, and I can sure see why. And he became a taxi driver. And that was his street ministry. He was so happy driving cab because he could just chat people up and find out where they were coming from and what they needed and give a little advice. My dad was very good at giving advice. So, this is a song not about my dad, but about me and my childhood. Because my dad found himself, I think, happier in a couple of the churches he ended up in that were rural, that were small, that were white working class for the most part. And one of them was in Wyoming. And Wyoming's an interesting state. I was a little girl then. So this song just captures some of those parts of my life where I was in these rural settings. And it's this is the kind of song that women often write about, gotta get out of here. So here we go. When I was a girl living out on the plain, I'd slip out at night, 'cause the world was calling my name. Just a little girl under a starlit sky, in a great big world stretching out on every side. And I wanted to go, and I wanted to ride on a midnight stallion across the sky. Just a one-street town and a one-room school. Just one church where my daddy preached the golden rule. No one went far, girls married young. Boys worked on cars, carried a gun. And I wanted to scream, and I wanted to cry. Every dream I got gonna wither on this vine. Down in the basement, found an old guitar, and it took my fingers, took my voice, and it took my heart. It had songs of maidens who stole their lovers' gold, songs of hobos rolling on down the road. And I wanted to laugh, and I wanted to roar, some kind of power I never felt before. Ooh, 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 just like that hobo in the good old song. I'm on the road to somewhere, got my traveling shoes on. Just a teenage girl under a starry sky, great big world stretching out on every side. And I'm starting to sing what I'm wanting to hear. Got the wind and the North Star, got nothing to fear. From a one-street town to the city lights on a midnight stallion, across the sky. Ooh, 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 yeah, across the sky. Yeah. And you know, I'll tell you something about my dad. For all that he was a man of his time, and he was sexist without knowing it, trivialized my mom without realizing it, he encouraged me. It was almost like he was almost schizophrenic in his view, because he encouraged me. I was a football player, a baseball player, you know, an out adventurer girl, and he loved it. He loved all that. And when I was engaged, finally made a commitment to marry my partner, David, many years later, after I had come out and been a lesbian, and he had been gay, and we were doing all that stuff that all of us were doing back in those days, just mixing it up. Although we didn't invent that, because people are really mixing it up now. But in any case, when David, we announced to our parents, we took them out to dinner and announced that we were committed. We didn't want to say engaged, we were committed. And they congratulated us. And then my dad stood up and he reached across the table and shook David's hand. He said, "I have one thing I want to say to you. Don't ever try to pin her down. She's got to be free. Something like that. Like, her nature is to be free. Don't even try to pin her down." I love that. I was like, thank you, Dad. So, Fred, oh, you've got such a great bust out. That's kind of a bust out song. It's a girl busting out, and Fred has the most wonderful bust out song. So, over to you, Fred.
Thank you, Betsy. Beautiful song and beautiful story. So this song is based on a true story about a polar bear named Larry. In 1932, at a zoo in Los Angeles, a polar bear named Larry performed for the crowd. They'd cheer aloud, he'd go slipping and sliding, jumping and diving. The people would laugh, they took his photograph. Larry was born at the zoo, he never knew as he grew older anything colder than Los Angeles, which is warmer than Alaska, where Larry's parents were born. Larry the polar bear, he'd never harm a hair on a child's head. He'd do tricks for them at the Los Angeles Zoo, as he'd been taught to by his keeper, Fran. Fran would teach him new tricks, a funny pose, scratching his nose. He knew there'd be a fish at the end. Fran was his friend. One day she said, "Larry, you'll be in the movies with real movie stars and a few simple tricks and lots of fish to be filmed on location in Alaska." And so they rehearsed for Larry's big scene. He was supposed to be mean and growl at a woman who was rescued by a man who scared him away. It was stupid, but fun to do. The director would frown and jump up and down, kind of like the chimps at the zoo. Larry the polar bear, he'd never harm a hair on a child's head. He'd do tricks for them at the Los Angeles Zoo, as he'd been taught to by his keeper, Fran. At last came the day of the trip. They put Larry in a crate, 12 foot by 8, and he sailed aboard a steamship. The journey was long and boring. Fran would visit. She'd talk to him and bring him his favorite fish. Then the noise and the rumbling stopped, and they lowered him down, set the crate on the frozen ground, and opened it. Fran said, Larry, we're here. It's time for your tricks. And Larry appeared. He looked out at the gray Bering Sea. He squinted and puzzled, put his nose to the wind, and the scent of the seal made him tremble. He smelled the fox in its lair, and the weasel and hare. Felt lichen and snow neath his paws, and he looked at the tundra and ice, looked at the loon in the sky, and he ran. Slowly at first, kind of lumbering, he ran, gathering speed, gathering memories from within. Old and dim, growing stronger, to run and to swim, to dive and to float, the cold at his throat, but warm inside, neath the fur and hide. Ocean and ice all around him, he ran. He ran. He ran, and he swam away.
Mm. Wow. What a song. It's interesting, a song that has that much energy in it and that much narrative, as opposed to like poetry and all that. It was just quite narrative, can be so moving. There's just something deeply moving about that bear, you know.
Well, I said it was based on a true story. The origin of that song was like 2 lines in a wire service story that was published in the Boston Globe back in the early 80s. And the story was just, I don't know, sort of this random human interest, I guess, story about an insurance company that insured movie productions against expensive, unforeseen circumstances. So let's say you're filming a romantic comedy with the New York City skyline in the background. You've got all the crew out there, the actors, and then there's a blackout, there's a power outage, right? So the whole New York City skyline goes blank, and you go, oh, okay, we got to come back. Well, that's going to cost a lot of money. So that's when this insurance company would pay out. And then in this story, right in the middle of this wire service story, it said something like, I'm paraphrasing, but it's pretty close. And then there was the time that a trained polar bear was taken to Alaska for a movie shoot. When they let him out of the crate, he took one look at the gray Bering Sea, ran away, and was never seen again. And I get chills just telling
I got it.
that story, because it blew my mind, because I'm trying to empathize with the polar bear, who has never been where the polar bear is supposed to be, never been in polar bear habitat. So this moment of stunning recognition, wait a second, I get it. This is where I'm supposed to be. And everything else, the zoo, Fran, the fish, the tricks, that was a lie. I love Fran. She treated me well, but I'm not even looking back. I'm out of here. And sometimes, people, adults and kids say, well, what happened to Larry? Was he all right? And I say, we don't know, but he had to go.
Yeah.
It's always a risk.
Yeah.
And that's how that's what freedom is, to take risks.
Exactly. And that's what this whole social movement around LGBTQ, not to mention many other things, but just that's a little bit our focus tonight, is about that authenticity of knowing who you are. And I relate to Larry so much, like someone as a woman raised in a certain kind of cage, and you as a
Right.
man also. And that, but something in deep inside it's like there's something that can awaken so easily. And I realized a few years ago that I was actually a non-binary kid. I didn't know that. I was just a tomboy, but I always had these little crew cuts, and I'd go around without a shirt on as long as I could get away with it. And I played with the boys, I was very athletic. And it's just so neat now. I just, God, if I was 9 years old now, I would have a name for this, and I'll
Yes.
have other kids like that. And what a thing. What a thing. So go, Larry. And I think I'm going to transition into a poem that I wrote about this inability to fit into a container, a shipping container, a stereotype container, a gender container. And it's called Not She, Not He. And I was raised in the 50s in a minister's family. So the images of the little girl and the little boy are both very much me. I am not she who sits at the table, napkin folded, chin wiped, saying, "Yes, Daddy, yes, Mommy," ruffled skirt over pink knees, clean report card. I am not she. I am not he, little boy haircut, wrestling my favorite boy to the ground, rough and tumble tree climb, boy girl, girl boy, torn jeans over scraped knees. I am not he. I am not she, painting lips and rolling hair into curl, breathless when a boy approaches to ask for a dance, letting his hands wander just a bit and tasting the shame, sliding a razor over calves and armpits, smooth like a baby. I am not she. I am not he, elevating the mind, learning abstraction, the poet, the playwright, the politician, the anointed. The aspiration to a kind of power only men are given, intellectual authority, physical agency, front row, front of the line, top of the class. Respect comes easily. I am not he. I am not he or she or it. I am not a noun. I am not am. I shapeshift. I am outside the box. I don't claim fixed form. I don't choose a box to fit into. I am so much more than any of this. Not bigger or better. Just not this or that. Fluid, protean energy, being. A temporary form that I constantly flail against. A social construct that suffocates. A body that spirit strains to break free. A lifelong cocoon. A lifelong battle for wings. And this is a song that goes back to the same era of Polar Bear, Everything Possible, back when there was a huge outbursting of coming out and creating a women's community, lesbian community, women's music. Many of you were there, you know all about it. And I again could not quite find the box to check off. I wasn't straight, but I wasn't as lesbian as I seem to be required to be. I couldn't find, exactly where to be, but it's all right. It's all right. I claim my space, and this is the song that I wrote called "Room for You." Born the child of parents who chose once for all their lives, tried to find their every dream within each other's eyes. Well, no wonder they look anxious, and they try to pin me down, saying, "Honey, please get serious. Don't spread your love around." They say there's room for one love in a heart that's true. But I'm finding more and more I've got room for you. Born to love the sunrise and the mother ocean's call, born to dance out in the storm, born to taste it all. Well, it's a rough ride for the heartstrings, so foolish some would say, but I was never one for caution. I was born to be this way. But they say there's room for one love in a heart that's true. But I'm finding more and more I've got room for you. Some folks, they don't like it. You can see it in their face. They say, pick one or the other. Rest your heart in just one place. One place. But the tides are always shifting. The land is never still. You cannot tame a river and bend it to your will. And boundaries I believed in are melting into sand. Now it's me and my own footsteps starting over once again. And they say there's room for one love in a heart that's true. I'm finding more and more I've got room. I'm finding more and more I've got room for you. And I just want to say before we go on, mention that Liz has put information in the chat about how you can donate for the evening. Many of you know this is a donation-based event. We don't charge a ticket fee to get in. I want everybody to come who can come and not be worrying about money. But if you have a little extra or even just enough, we would love to have you share that with us. I want to be sure that Fred, as an artist, as a climate activist, as a human being, gets support, gets acknowledgement for this work. And one way we can do that is to offer our gratitude through our donations. I want to just mention that last month we did a big collection for the young single moms that I'm doula for. I thought, what a great time at Mother's Day month to give them a surprise gift of cash. I mean, when you're young and on social services and trying to pay for daycare and trying to pay rent and trying to buy food, cash is the nicest gift you can get. So we raised a nice amount of money. Thank you all so much. It was really exciting to get your PayPals and your cards. And not only did we donate to these 2 or 3 young moms, but we are donating to the Black Mamas Bailout Fund, which is an annual fundraising thing for Black mothers in jail because they can't raise bail, so that we can bail them out and get them home to their kids. So thank you for that. And this month it's all about Fred. And if there's a whole lot, we'll probably also donate to something Fred and I can talk about, that maybe some climate related project of some kind. Okay, so that's it. Fred, back to you.
Well, on the theme of fathers, this is a song I wrote for my dad. I remember the man rising early in the morning, smelling of starch and aftershave. Sometimes I would shave beside him with a plastic razor and a cardboard blade, and watch his car disappear into the morning gray. I remember the man talking so long on the telephone, his voice hard and polished like a precious stone, in command of itself and the darkness. He was not afraid in my hearing, though sometimes he would rage without reason. There's a man I hardly remember who would hold me in his arms without flinching and tell me it's all right. I put my hands out to my father, standing strong in the water when I could not swim. I held on to him, it was all right. I remember the man shouting from the sidelines at my football games. He'd razz opposing players by their names. My mother would plead, "Oh, please calm down." And he did. When the game was over, he was so proud of his son. I remember the man laid off last December. That's not what they called it. 20 years with the firm, eased out in favor of a younger man. Fear tugged at his voice, but he had other plans. There's a man I hardly remember who would hold me in his arms without flinching and tell me it's all right. I put my hands out to my father, standing strong in the water when I could not swim. I held on to him, it was all right. I dreamed last night of my grandmother. She was tall and I a child, but death was hiding in her house. In the dark I saw her, a rotting shell, and I cried out. My father took my hand and led me from that awful place. Soon my parents will be old. They will count their dreams and weigh them one by one. 2 lives long together, a daughter and a son. Many things accomplished, many left undone. Some left behind for something better. And once before he dies, I will hold him in my arms without flinching, tell him it's all right. I put my hands out to my father, standing strong in the water when I could not swim. I held on to him, it was all right.
Oh, wow, Fred. Wow. I've heard that song before. I haven't heard it in a very long time. It's very, very moving. Very moving.
Yeah, and my dad, of course, passed some years back, and my mom too. I miss them both, and I continue to explore both the ways in which they were amazing parents and ways in which they were terrible parents, and that paradox, because all of us are flawed human beings. They did the best they did the best they could, and actually, I've been researching about their childhoods. And also the childhoods of my grandparents,
Hmm.
trying to trace back, this intergenerational trauma.
Yeah.
Many cases of alcoholism, but child neglect, child abuse, violence, mental health issues. For my grandmother grew up in a house where both her parents were mentally ill when she was a young child.
Hmm.
And, to me, she was, not to put too fine a point on it, the Wicked Witch of the West. She was terrible. She was my bad grandmother as opposed to my good grandmother on the other side of my family, because you see the world in those stark, dichotomous terms. But the more I learn about her childhood, the more my heart just goes out to her. Just the fact that she survived
Mm-hmm. Yep.
was a triumph. And she was a terrible mother to my father, and not a very good grandmother to me. But now my heart goes out to her.
Yeah. I feel like this is the moment where we're all going to go into breakout rooms now and tell our
Yeah.
stories, because I think a lot of people our age and certainly younger, but are doing this kind of exploration. I know I am, and it's sort of almost certainly part of healing our own lives, understanding our own lives as this was all transmitted through, and yet also thankfully for some of us there was enough love, there was enough goodness that we're still able to cherish and honor and remember these beloveds. I certainly feel that way about my dad. But one person who comes to our singing sometimes did email me in advance and said, I hope these are not all going to be songs about how wonderful dads are, because not all of us had that experience. And we do have to name that unfortunately dads can be perpetrators. They can be violent. They can be sexually abusive. And so I think it's just important to say that out loud. And I'm going to have Liz put in the chat a song by a wonderful Irish singer named Kathy Ryan. She has beautiful songs, but she has this one song called Daddy that is a song about that kind of a dad. And if it's just good to have that available to us also to keep a full and whole picture. I also want to mention Eve Ensler, who we all know created the Vagina Monologues and is an incredible advocate for women's power, safety, recovery from sexual abuse and assault. She herself had a pretty horrific, abusive father, and she's written an amazing book called The Apology, where even on his deathbed, he denied what he had done to her. So she took matters in her own hand and wrote the apology that she wanted
Wow.
to get from him. She wrote it herself. And
Mm.
Liz is going to put some stuff in the chat about that. She has a TED talk about it
Mm.
and so forth. She's such a model of women empowered in the face of so many disempowering circumstances. So enough of that. I just wanted to get that into the room because I'm now going to sing a song about my dad, who I adore more and more the farther away I get from him. But also, as he grew old and as he was dying, he has some people as they die. I know a bit about death and dying. I've been around it a bit. There's a kind of concentration, distillation of their personality into the essence. And for some, unfortunately, they become crabby, irritable, selfish, and abusive. But my dad just got sweeter and sweeter. The closer he got to death, he was sweet, he was grateful. But but what I want to sing to you is not my song. every now and then I'll hear a song that somebody wrote and think, oh, we had parallel lives. You're like, you had my dad. This song is by Katie Curtis, who's from Maine, I think. And her parents were rural people in Maine. She has a wonderful YouTube live version where she talks about them. And it's just so heartwarming. But her dad, like mine, would pack all the garbage and stuff in the station wagon because you had to go to the dump. They didn't have garbage collection. He'd go to the dump with a car full of stuff, and he would come back with a car full of stuff. Because don't you know there was so many treasures at that dump? Old rocking chairs, the stuff my dad brought home. My mother would just tear her hair. Our garage was full of stuff that you just might need someday. You just might need someday. Anybody relate to this? So Katie wrote a marvelous song about her dad called My Dad's Yard. And the other thing our dads have in common, and as Katie's song will illustrate, is that my dad was not the best father. He was hard on his own kids, or he was distant. But other kids and animals and anybody in trouble, the man had a heart of gold. He would do anything for someone in trouble. So I just learned to play this song today, and I have arthritis. My hands are getting a little unstable, so just ignore the guitar if it bothers you, and enjoy the song. It's called My Dad's Yard. It's got an old chair. It's got no seat. Cracked snowshoes, warped wooden skis, hard-covered books, pages all turned brown. Dad had a reason for everything he keeps around. So if you need something when times get hard, you can probably find it in my dad's yard. If you need hope, if you're coming apart, you can surely find it in my dad's heart. That chorus comes around again. You can sing it with me. You never really know just what might be in store. If you go in the barn and open the boxes on the second floor, because underneath the papers, crumpled up in balls, you might find a gem, you might find nothing at all. And that's the fun of it. It's that mystery. And all those things bearing other people's history. You can look at the stuff, wonder where it's been. You can pick it up and you can use it again. So if you need something, times get hard, you can surely find it in my dad's yard. And if you need hope, if you're coming apart, you can surely find it in my dad's heart. He can see the beauty beneath the dust and the grime. He can see potential where the rest of us are blind. He will polish the gray until it shines clear blue. And if you know my dad, he won't give up on you. So if you need something, times are hard, you can probably find it in my dad's yard. If you need hope, if you're coming apart, you can surely find it in my dad's heart. My dad's heart. Do you have those songs? Do you all have those songs like on your phone or something where you just put them on continuous loops sometimes? Like you just need to hear that, and then you need to hear that again, and then you need to hear that again. That's one of those songs for me. Yeah. So let's see here. Fred, I think we've got time. Do you have one more song you'd like to do before you do the closing?
Sure.
All right. Well, I just want to make one more announcement while you get ready. And that is just, again, the donation information is there for you. And also, we're going to take a break over the rest of the summer. I'm going to be traveling and out of town quite a bit. And I think we're all of us probably traveling, and summer is just kind of one of those times. So we're just going to take a little break, and I will get back in touch with you later in August, and we'll probably reconvene in September. I wish you all very beautiful, restful summers with just the right amount of adventure and rest and community and solitude, whatever combo works for you. And I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank Fred. Fred's going to do 2 songs, this one and then a closing that I guess we're going to do together, actually. Okay, Fred.
I want a hug when we say hello. I want a hug when it's time to go. I want a hug 'cause I want you to know I'm awfully fond of you. I want a hug, what a wonderful feeling. Want a hug, to feel you squeeze and want a hug. It certainly seems like the natural thing to do. This song is about hugging, and all you have to do to sing it is when I sing I want a hug, you sing right back, on mute of course. I want a hug, like this. I want a hug, I want a hug when we say hello. I want a hug, I want a hug when it's time to go. I want a hug, I want a hug, 'cause I want you to know I'm awfully fond of you. Give it a try. I want a hug, what a wonderful feeling. Want a hug, to feel you squeeze and want a hug. It certainly seems like the natural thing to do. When I was a little bitty baby child, my mama used to hold me tight. My daddy used to come and pick me up when I got scared at night. The years have passed, I've grown so fast, and mostly I feel strong. But timid or bold, I'm never too old to sing this cozy song. Here we go. I want a hug when we say hello. I want a hug when it's time to go. I want a hug 'cause I want you to know I'm awfully fond of you. All right. I want a hug, what a wonderful feeling. Want a hug, to feel you squeeze and want a hug. It certainly seems like the natural thing to do. Now there's nothing nicer than a good hug, and nothing worse than a hug that you don't want. So you need to be careful about hugging, and if you feel like you want to offer somebody a hug, make sure they actually want a hug from you. And if you're not sure, you can ask them. And if somebody's about to give you a hug and actually you're not really in the mood for a hug from that person at that moment, you can just say, no thank you. And we stay in charge of the hugs that we give and get. Some folks don't like hugging. They think they're too tough. I bet they'd be a whole lot friendlier if they were just hugged enough. When you hug the ones who love you, an amazing thing you learn. When you give a hug, you just can't help but get one in return. I want a hug when we say hello. I want a hug when it's time to go. I want a hug 'cause I want you to know I'm awfully fond of you. I want a hug, what a wonderful feeling. Want a hug, to feel you squeeze and want a hug. It certainly seems like the natural thing to do. Sometimes grown-ups are grouchy and they put the blame on you. Sometimes you make just a little mistake, though you did the best you could do. Sometimes love is everywhere, and it's a beautiful day. And every time is the perfect time to open your arms and say, all right, I want a hug when we say hello. I want a hug when it's time to go. I want a hug 'cause I want you to know I'm awfully fond of you. Last time, I want a hug, what a wonderful feeling. Want a hug, to feel you squeeze and want a hug. It certainly seems like the natural thing to do.
It's another iconic Fred Small song. I'd forgot that, and Everything Possible might be your most iconic songs. I'm not. Yeah. So listen, folks, there's a lot of information in the chat. There's a lot of links tonight to where to find Fred, where to purchase his book, um, songs. It's really good stuff. If you don't have time to click on everything and get it all right now, just go into your chat and go down to the bottom of your chat column, and there's three little dots, and you click on them, and right at the top it says Save Chat. And then you save it, and it goes somewhere in your computer, and then you have the fun of finding it. I don't have any advice for you, but it can be found. So it's a wonderful night, Fred. It's so good to be with you. It just feels like old times. It just makes me happy to do this together. And I've been having memories of being on stage with you at different times back in the day, back in Cambridge. It was a special time.
We made a lot of we've made a lot of beautiful music together, Betsy. It's great times, and it'll be great to see you when I come visit
Yeah,
in a couple
yeah,
of
yeah.
weeks.
His sister lives right around the corner from me. It's really cool. And I've probably seen her at the local grocery, but I don't know what she looks like because I've never met her. So if I get to meet her, Fred, I'll probably go, "Oh, you, the one at the mushroom bin." Yeah. So
Somebody's asking in the chat. Rebecca's asking, where do I live now? I live in North Cambridge. That is Cambridge, Massachusetts, and Massachusetts with no S land. That was the name of the people who lived here
oh,
before
okay. Yeah,
Europeans took over.
great. Oh, and by the way, I did post in the chat a link to the recorded version of Larry for very selfish reasons. I played the piano on that recording. It was
And very beautifully, much better than my guitar.
well, it was just a
Um,
different instrument. Let's face it.
Folks are asking in the chat. So, Rebecca asks, "Am I still a minister?" Well, I haven't been defrocked, or as we say it in Unitarian Universalism, defellowshipped. So, yes, I am still a minister. I'm a community minister now. I serve as the minister for climate justice at Arlington Street Church in Boston. And there maybe. Liz, if you can put again in the chat
I'm just
where to
doing it.
order the book,
I'm
because
just looking.
maybe you just did that.
Yeah. Oh no, I did your appearance. I'll do the book. Yeah, I'm kind of on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, like a lot of folks, I'm staying away from Amazon. So the first place to go is to your local independent bookstore. But if that's not convenient, um, I suggest bookshop.org because they share their proceeds with independent booksellers. So bookshop, just the way it sounds, .org, and then just look for everything possible. You'll find it. Also, we need to mention there's a Spanish edition
Oh right, right.
translated by Brian Amador of Sol y Canto. It's called Todo lo Posible. And you can also either find it at your local bookstore or order it from bookshop.org or the online purveyor of your choice.
Wonderful. Well, it's been a great night. I know we're all really happy right now, and I think the closing song that you thought of, Fred, is so great. Ain't you got to write? Just
Ain't You Got a Right to the Tree of Life, written by Guy Carawan, inspired by the spirituality of the Carolina Sea Islands.
mm-mm.
Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? That's your part. Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Give it a try. Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right? Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right? 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 Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? So rocky the road. So rocky the road, so dangerous the journey, but we got a right, but we got a right. Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? Ain't you got a right? 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 Ain't you got a right to the tree of life? We come from a distance. We come from a
Come from a
distance.
distance.
We come from a distance. We gotta ride,
We gotta
ain't you gotta ride to the tree of
tree of life.
life? Ain't you gotta ride? Ain't you gotta
Ain't you gotta
ride?
ride?
Ain't you gotta
Ain't you
ride
gotta ride?
to the tree of life? Our lives will be sweeter. Our lives will be sweeter.
Our lives will be sweeter.
Our lives will be sweeter, 'cause we gotta ride to the tree of life. Ain't you gotta ride? Ain't you gotta
Ain't you gotta
ride?
ride?
Ain't you gotta
Ain't you
ride
gotta ride?
to the tree of life? Amen.
Mm-mm. And when is the Pride March? Because you're in the Pride March this week.
Well, I'm observing the
Yeah.
Pride March with folks from San Francisco Bay Times, but
Yes. What day is it?
hope that's on the 20. That's on the 25th, Sunday the
Okay.
25th. Yeah,
Okay, great. Well, ain't you got a right to march in that parade,
yeah.
whoever you are, whatever, however you identify. And let's unmute everybody and just make some noise for the Fred and for the whole thing, the whole amazing experience here. See if we can get you unmuted. Give us a sec. It's a little tricky. Goodness. Allow participants to unmute themselves. You should be able to unmute everybody. Give it a try. Oh, ask all to unmute. There we go.
Thank you. It's wonderful.
There we are. There we are.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you, Fred.
Great to see you all.
Thank you.